Welcome back to another season of TVGP's Critical Misses. This it's already off to a hot start.
Yeah.
I'm your host,
Hot.
Boston. Joining me as always is Moonpier.
Howdy.
This season we're going to cover the first 4 movies in the Alien, the complete Alien quadrilogy, not the other ones. Right, fellow Alien fans?
They come later because there
Yeah,
are some people who actually really like those movies.
yeah, yeah.
I
We're
think
not
they're
going.
fantastic movies. I hate them as part of the Alien franchise, but they are fantastic movies.
Okay, there's the rub. Yeah, so we're gonna do the first 4. We will not be watching Prometheus and Alien Covenant. I had to look at this Blu-ray collection I have just to remember what the movie names are. I got this cool. It has a really cool cover. I like this guy.
Whoa, that's actually sick.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like
Well,
20.
spoiler alert, now you also know what the alien looks like. Not like you
Yeah, well,
didn't know already with
okay.
your
So,
Fortnite integration.
all right, all right, we got two pieces here to talk about here at the beginning. Number one, huge shout out to friend of us and of the show, Big Mackey, for sort of our alien consultant here, the
Mhm.
alien movie consultant, where we asked him the question, "What do we watch?" And he came back with, "Here are some things," and then we said, "Cool. What does that mean?" And we had a little bit of back and forth, and now we sort of understand the
Mhm.
versions of the 4 movies that we're going to go into. So huge
That
shout
does
out to
remind me.
Mackie.
I actually need to text him because, yeah. By the way, folks, if you ever want to send in like emails and stuff like that, just use the regular show contact information,
Yeah,
the Discord,
yeah,
the
hit
the
us up.
email, anything like that. I need to text him and let him know because we do record in advance.
Yes,
Um, I need to let him know that he needs to send an email in by next Sunday.
that's true. Yes, yeah. 1 week left. Mackie of 3
He
months
has,
ago.
yes,
Yeah.
he has thoughts on this
Yes.
first,
Yeah.
on this
So
franchise specifically.
okay. So for the first movie, Alien, here we're going to be watching the theatrical cut. From what I understand from our consultant Mackie, is that there were some changes and additions in the director's cut that largely don't add anything to the experience, so it's not really necessary for us to watch that version.
Mhm.
I'm trying to not dive
Read
too deep
anything
into this. Number one,
because
because nerds have
we should
opinions.
we should actually clarify as well.
Yes,
I've seen all these movies.
yes, I have seen 0 of them.
Uh-huh.
So,
You haven't
which
even seen the bad movies.
right, which is the next point we'll get into. But I also don't want to spoil anything here because I'm sure everybody will be like, "Well, that 15 frames they added and the 13." I don't need to know any of that.
That will
Uh,
come in a lot with the second movie because the director's cut. Long story short, I'll explain in more detail when we get to it.
sure.
But in the second movie, an entire reel of film is cut out of that movie.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Yeah. So short. We'll cover this in the future ones. Alien theatrical cut, Aliens director's cut, Alien 3 assembly cut, sometimes called the special edition, and Alien Resurrection theatrical cut. If
Uh-huh.
anyone other than Mackey's opinions about those, watch your favorite versions. These are the ones we're going to watch for the show. Maybe in a future season we'll watch the next 2, but we're not gonna make this like a 15-week long season. It's not gonna be like, all
Uh-huh.
right, this version has the yeah. Anyway, so the important, interesting thing about this, you mentioned like, oh, now you know what the alien looks like. I feel like this movie, out of probably anything we've watched so far, except for maybe like the first John Wick, I feel like this is going to have the highest quantity of osmosis knowledge
Uh-huh.
than anything else. Because like I
The
know
best
that
thing is I can sit here and we'll go into it in a little bit more
sure.
detail in a second. But I know for a fact that if I ask you, which I will in a moment, to
Sure.
tell me everything you know about
Hmm.
this movie specifically, none of
Yes.
the others, this one that we're doing, the first Alien movie,
Hmm.
you'll start throwing out references from 2 and 3 and 4 and not even know which one's which.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. So the things I know, the aliens are called xenomorphs.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Ripley is her name, and she has an orange cat.
I brought props.
There you go. For anyone not listening to the audio version, that's a Ripley Funko Pop with the cat in her arms.
Hmm.
Weyland Yutani is the company's name.
Okay,
Um,
that's two, but okay.
that's two. Okay, all right, strike one.
Here we go.
Um,
Here we go
yeah,
down this rabbit
yeah.
hole.
Game Over Man, Game Over. I feel like is an
That's
alien
two.
thing. That's two. Great. Okay. Um, are the xenomorphs the chest bursters?
No.
Is that a
So
different franchise?
no, that is.
Okay.
Well, technically, yes, the Xenomorphs are the chest bursters. That is this franchise,
Okay.
and that scene that you have seen of
The one from
the skate
Spaceballs.
scene.
Hello, my darling.
Yes,
Hello, my baby. Yep.
yeah, yes. You've seen it skated a million times.
Yep.
That's this movie.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, the one of the things that I love about this specific monster in this monster movie is it has a very distinct life cycle.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And it's something that you get into more with the third movie, but
Hmm.
part of the whole reason why Aliens is so popular is number one, it spawned a crap ton of comics and
Oh, okay.
stuff like that. I've got so many Alien novels from the Alien extended universe that are
Oh, interesting.
genuinely fantastic. But the thing you get into and discover with three, which you'll forget by the time it comes up, so it's fine,
Hmm.
is based originally, the alien took on aspects of the creature it infected.
Okay. Sure.
So in this movie, it's humans. In
Hmm.
Alien 3, I think it was a dog or a bear or a moose or something like that. So the alien is different depending on what it is birthed from,
Interesting. Okay.
which led to a whole bunch of comics about a whole different kind of
Right.
aliens
Right.
and a little thing called a pralien,
Mm. Hmm.
which is an alien birthed from a predator.
Great. Great. Great.
So yeah, there
Okay.
is a lot to get into with this. I will say with this movie, because I know sometimes you have a habit of being like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, take a break, kids, whatever.
Yeah, I'm not planning for this one. This one's probably
I was
an
gonna say,
all at once.
yeah, these
Yeah.
movies make or break themselves based on building a feeling, which if you take an hour long or 2 hour or 2 day break while you're halfway through the
Yeah,
movie,
that
kind of.
tension sort of recedes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that we watch this whole thing from start to finish.
Hmm.
Um, I don't really. You've seen Alien Isolation at least.
The game? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you will know as soon as you get into this, you will see how good that game is because the aesthetic is from this movie.
I
Um,
feel like that's one thing that I am really excited to see is I know as the franchise um sort of continues some of the horror aspects and some of the tension aspects in some of the movies lessen.
mhm.
I'm excited to see this one for some of the real. I don't like a lot of jump scare horror movies. When I like horror stuff, I love that feeling of dread, that feeling of tension that just keeps like ratcheting and ratcheting the entire time until it loosens for one reason or another.
Mm.
Um, and I'm excited for that, and I'm excited for to see how all of the design in this movie, because the alien itself is so it is
Iconic.
so
Like
yeah, it
it's.
truly is iconic. I mean, it's just it's one of those things you look at and you're like, oh yeah, that's an alien. He's got the little tiny mouth in his mouth. That's crazy. um
I'm assuming you also know who designed it.
is that Geiger designed this one?
Yes, it's
Okay.
famous Swiss pervert H.R. Geiger, or Giger,
and
depending on how you want to pronounce it.
and part so I was gonna say that I thought Geiger had designed this, but I feel like that's such a thing nowadays of like, oh, Geiger inspired. Ooh, it reminds me of Geiger, and it's like
Like
most
the
things
weird alien
don't.
game coming out for the Xbox at some point
Yeah,
soon.
that reminds me of Geiger. A lot of like Geiger inspired stuff is just like, ooh, it's an alien. Ooh, it's like it's dripping. It's like that's not really the thing. So I'm excited to see. kind of that whole aesthetic and that whole design kind of extended beyond the xenomorph itself into kind of the entire movie.
Hmm. So the thing that I think that this movie does so well, and it's, to be honest, it's a trope of a lot of movies that I absolutely adore. Starship Troopers, I am one of the biggest fans of that movie ever.
Yep,
And
it's
the
so good.
reason I'm a huge fan of it is because it builds a world and tells a story through the actual movie itself. And when we eventually get around to doing Mad Max, that's going to be a conversation unto itself.
Hmm.
Like it doesn't tell you the world; it shows you the world.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like the tech, the attitudes, the discussions, like the one of the reasons I think this movie took hold so much is because it leaves you, if you watch it like 15 times, which I'm sure in 1979 people went to see this in the theater a lot because there
Sure.
were no video games and there wasn't a xenomorph doing a dance in Fortnite.
It's so
Um,
good.
if you don't follow Mackie on Twitter, his response to that was just like amazing. I think it was something along the lines of "I hate it, kill me now."
Right.
Uh,
Look how they massacred my boy.
yes, just before he massacred everybody else.
Right.
Um, so this movie, if you've seen it multiple times and if you don't know any of the rest of the stuff, and one of the reasons why the later movies I feel make this worse is they start to answer questions you don't need the answer for.
Sure, sure. It's like in a
Like,
sci-fi movie where they put a pill into a microwave and they push a button and a turkey dinner comes out and you're like, that's incredible. And they're like, this is how it works. It's like, I don't
we
care.
don't
Like
need to know that.
I
Like,
just
we
you just
don't.
microwaved a turkey dinner. Like this is cool. Like I don't need to know
Mhm.
anything other than that.
As famously seen in Back to the Future 2 and also Fifth Element.
Yeah. Fifth Element is the one I was thinking of because I haven't watched it yet this year.
I think Back to the Future 2 was a pizza.
Sure.
But yeah, it's that thing. It's like, look, here is this giant spaceship. Let's answer every question you might possibly have about this giant spaceship in the later
Yeah.
movies. Whereas in this, it's just like, it's a giant spaceship. Who knows?
Look at this cool thing. It's a spaceship.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But no, so the thing we'll get into, obviously, throughout doing this series is the Alien movies share a common thing with the Terminator franchise
Oh, okay.
and also with the Mission Impossible franchise,
Interesting.
which is also on the list, by the way. Folks, don't you worry. I've got
Yeah.
that one covered.
Don't you worry. Yeah.
Um, which is, it's a franchise with different directors.
Yes. Yep.
So, do you know who directed the first one?
Ridley Scott is the first
Yep,
one.
it's
Yeah.
Ridley Scott does the first one.
Hmm.
I think James Cameron does the second one.
Okay.
David Finch does the third one.
Yeah. Sort of famously,
Oh,
that was part of my research. Is like, what's the assembly cut? And everyone's like, well, David Fincher had. I was like, okay. All right.
and Jean-Pierre Jeunet directs the fourth one.
Okay.
So of the ones we watched, Ridley
Right.
Scott comes back to do the later ones, I believe, most of them, and just whatever, I don't care.
Okay.
Jean-Pierre Jeunet, for those who don't know, that's the Amelie director, City of Lost Children, like,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
yes.
Hmm.
So there is a lot to go into because each director is going to bring their own style, they're going to bring their own
Right.
flair, they're going to bring their own themes and genres, and there is a rather famous kind of thing that happens on the internet, which is I can ask you which Alien movie you prefer between the first two, and that tells me everything I need to know about you as a moviegoer
Okay. Interesting.
because they are vastly different movies. Well,
Right.
at the same time, they still hold a lot of things close to each other. It's a
Okay.
really strange experience. It's very similar to Terminator and Terminator 2, if I'm honest.
It's like when a musician goes back and records an album, like re-records an album like a decade later, where it's like it's the same thing, but there's just like they kind of diverged at some point.
Exactly.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure, don't hold me to this, but I'm pretty sure, for example, that Mackie's favorite movie is this movie.
Oh, okay.
My favorite movie is the next one out of the four
Okay.
that we're going to watch. So we're going to have a real strong start here
Right.
and a real weak finish. Just going to
Yeah.
get you prepared for that straight off the get-go.
I have heard that the quality level as this goes, whatever your preference is for how much you like the movie or not, I hear the quality level, regardless of that, kind of continues to go on the downslide as the movies progress.
Yes, and 1 and 2 are the best 2 movies in the entire franchise. I like 4 for how stupid it is.
Sure.
Like, we're talking like Too Fast, Too Furious levels of stupid.
Great. I can get behind that.
Yeah, it's not Tokyo Drift stupid where it's earnestly stupid. It's just dumb in the right kind of ways.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot to be answered and a lot that doesn't get answered in this movie, and I'm actually very curious to see where you specifically are going to land on it. I know you said you're not a fan of jump scares. It's 1979. There will be jump scares.
Yeah, that's sort of my expectations. I feel like modern day horror movies are less about the jump scares because I think audiences have started sort of getting tired of it. But you release a horror movie in '79, there's gonna be some jump scares, and that's okay.
And let's not forget it also has a cat in it, so
yes, so almost literally a spring-loaded cat in there.
But yes, so we've gone over a little bit about what like. I mean, like you said, the xenomorph itself is iconic.
Yeah.
For so many reasons.
Yeah.
You know about the company, which I will hopefully have my Weyland-Yutani jacket on next time.
Okay.
Record part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm that kind of nerd. Like, I have a bunch of merch for it.
Right.
There's a lot of, obviously, you mentioned there's a lot of multiple cuts of this movie, and we were talking about via text message. It's very much because of things like Blade Runner, where it's like,
yeah,
this has turned into something else. Like, I don't know when I was introduced to Alien. I think I was actually introduced to it through the second movie. Because I remember in high school, because I got into an argument with somebody because I saw the director's cut.
Oh, okay.
I was insisting that these 3 scenes happened, and they were insisting that I'm lying and making things up.
Right.
And it's like, we didn't know at the time because we were like 11 and 12 that the different cuts existed and internet wasn't as big as it is now. So I remember being introduced to it through the director's cut of the sequel.
Right.
And then going back and watching them all kind of from the start. I honestly just don't know how you have gone this long.
That's why we're doing critical misses. This is like one of the biggest genuine like critical miss that I've had, which is like everyone's like, yeah, these first 2 movies are incredible. Everybody should watch them. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll do that. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Honestly, it's you could argue, and I could accept arguments for 1 and 2 being perfect movies.
Sure.
And that's a hard thing to live up to.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot going on in this. I'm actually very curious as to how you find it. Like, because I know, like me, you love the world building. Like, you're a huge fan of the stupid signs in Control and
yep.
And the space game with the holograms, where you rescue the AI. You know the one I'm talking about.
Tacoma.
Yes. Like all of the stupid industrial stuff plastered on the walls about.
Oh yeah, man. Like
you are a huge fan of that stuff, and
yeah.
These movies are just full of that.
Yeah, that's the stuff. Yeah. Okay. Should we go watch Alien?
Yep. I'm looking forward to being scared out of my pants again.
Yeah. There we go. All right. Let's go watch it.
Yep.
We're back. We have watched the film. We watched
Yeah.
Alien, singular. Um,
hmm I come
we
with more props. It's worth mentioning.
okay. Yeah. So the video version we have the don't touch it John Hurt prop
Yep.
sitting right there. That was my first thing where I'm just watching this and like leaning away from the screen. Was like, don't. Ooh, oh, it's open. Ooh, don't touch it. Ha ha ha. Get your
hmm
face away from it. Yeah.
So, for the
Yes.
record, I watched this movie. You pretty much seems like you watched this movie instantaneously
Yeah, I
after
watched
watching
it. We a little bit of behind the scenes here. We record each of these episodes, each of these half episodes on Sundays. I watched it Monday night was the first time I had a chance to, where I had like 2 straight hours. I could just sit down and watch it. That
it.
was my first opportunity, so I took that.
Okay. So I watched it the day after, so I think I watched it on Tuesday, and I
Okay.
started taking notes, but then I
hmm
reread the text message you sent to me, and I was like, nope, Boston can take this one all by himself.
Yeah, I wrote a lot of notes because I had Evernote on my right monitor here and the movie on the left monitor, so I could just
Oh, you were
tippy tappy
typing as
typing.
well. Ooh.
Yeah, yeah. Took a lot of notes here. Um, my first note here is that everybody is in this. Like, I did
Uh-huh.
not know Ian Holm is in this movie. Yes,
Sir Ian
I
Holm.
apologies, Sir, the late
Thank you
Sir
very
Ian
much.
Holm. As always, fantastic in a movie. Um, Yeah, he's in there. John Hurt's in there. Obviously, Sigourney Weaver's in there. But like, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, they're in. Oh, who? Oh, hello. Oh, all right. Everybody's in
Mhm.
there, and the Orange Cat.
Yaphet Kotto, everyone's in
Yep.
it.
Yeah, just everybody is in it, and it's one of those things too where I guess I didn't fully realize this was Sigourney Weaver's first movie, because she just immediately kills it. Just from
Yep.
from moment one of being on the screen. Just like, hell yeah, man, she's awesome. And then looking at it, it's like, yeah, this was her first leading role, and I was just like, whoa, wow, okay, yeah, great, good.
Yep.
I really love how the alien logo slowly comes on screen.
The fade in is fantastic.
That was like a 2 minute long fade in, where it's just like, there's like one line in the middle, and I was like, what's that line? And then like two more draw, and I was like, all right, that's cool as hell.
hmm
Good job, guys. Um, I really love that there is seemingly nothing happening in about the first 45 minutes of this movie. That
hmm
is 100% my jam. It
The
is,
Jaws rule, we call it, where it's
yeah,
like you don't really see anything for a long time.
yeah. And like they're waking up and they're having some food and they're figuring out where they are, and there's like
Like
these
the
beautiful shots
crossfades
of
as well.
space. Hmm.
Like for like number one, I love the set design on this ship.
A
The
hundred
Nostromo
percent.
is one of my favorite design set ships of all time.
It's so good.
Um, I love. I hate to give him credit because he can be a bit of a dingus sometimes, but the wake up scenes when it's doing the very slow crossfades to kind of get you into the headspace of, yeah, everybody's waking up and this is how you feel when you wake up. Like
Yeah.
it's cinematography at its finest.
Hmm. Yeah. I really love the it. If you already know it's a horror movie, then up until you see them waking up, it's kind of shot after shot of like, what's gonna jump out here? Like, what's happening? Are
hmm
we just? Is this a slow start just for, to have something come out at me? It's like, no, it's just a slow start because they're not awake yet. Like this giant ship is just kind of cruising through space. Um,
Yep.
one of the things that I really, really appreciate about the set design is all of the old tech, quote unquote, like
Yep.
old future tech, especially like all the terminals. I really love that stuff, and I think it makes it feel really authentic that they're just like banging on all this old stuff. Like they're flipping switches and they're pulling levers and they're on these big terminals with the green screens and everything. Like it really feels. I think it goes a long way to making it feel like this ship is a place where they live,
Hmm.
as opposed to just we're going through space. Tick 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 tick. Like it's
I
just
mean, you also have to take into account that this is space.
yeah,
Despite what the future will have us, or despite what sci-fi in general would have us believe, the stuff you send into space needs to be durable. It needs
yep,
to be easily repaired. And if you're looking for stuff like that, you go mechanical, you go
yeah,
basic, you go
yep,
as low tech as you can. I hate
repairable.
to say this, especially in a commercial ship.
Yeah, because they're space truckers, and like they
Hmm.
got a bunch of stuff that they can open up and take a wrench to and fix. Like you're seeing the two mechanic guys working on a bunch of stuff in the ship, and it's like, yeah, man, they're just fixing the innards of this ship. Like no big deal.
Yep,
Um,
yep. And it's going to
yeah,
be made, like, because it's commercial, it's made on the cheapest budget it can possibly be made on and still
yeah,
function.
yeah. It's super cool. I love I'm with you. I love the design of the whole ship. Like it looks like a place you live, and it looks like a place you work, and then kind of juxtaposed with the room that Mother is in, where it's this really kind of clean, almost sterile sort of area that looks important, with kind of the budget and the tech they had, when this movie came out.
Yeah,
Um,
and the banter from the get-go is also very natural between all of them.
yes, that's
Like,
one thing I liked a lot. Where it's like, yeah, these people work together and they're tired of this dude asking about his shares, and they're tired about this
mhm,
dude complaining about the food except for the coffee, and a bunch of people are tired of taking care of the cat. Like of course they have a cat living with them. Like it feels like, um what would happen if these people that kind of do and don't like each other would wake up, where it's like, all right, let's get some food in us, where the hell are we?
mhm.
Which is, I think that's a cool thing, where it's like, all right, should be home at Earth any moment now. It's like, I got bad news. we are
Yup.
we are very far away. And then I like that there's this specter of the company. It is
Mhm.
very distinctly not named, which I feel like I might not like in the next movie. But like I like that there's always a specter of like, get back to work. Like the company will not give us our shares unless we do the thing, which the company is very interested in, SOS signals from anywhere. That's why the ship stopped. Wink.
Yep.
So it's like,
Any potentially intelligent life
yep,
must be investigated.
yep. The company demands it. And it's just like, ugh, oh God, okay.
Because you
Um,
know that that's a way to make money. If you find intelligent life out there and you're the company that has that right, then
yep.
hey, guess what?
I got the
Welcome to
exclusive
me.
IP on the xenomorphs.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Yep. Um, One of my favorite shots in this movie. So I really like them landing. I really like the practical like ship landing on the planet. I think that stuff looks really cool. I love all the practical effects except for one like really 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 late in the movie, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
It's the one that everybody knows what we're talking about. You don't even
Yeah,
have to hide it, but we'll get there when we get
it's
there.
the one where I'm sure everybody watches and they go, "Ugh, okay." Um, I really love them landing. I really love everything going to hell as soon as they touch down on the surface, which is just like,
I love the fact that it's like one of the struts, like one of the
yep,
legs
yep,
is the thing that give them issues. It's nothing else. One of the legs has an impact on the surface with a rock that it can't quite get with,
yeah,
and that causes damage to the ship.
yeah. And I really like how the xenomorph ship looks. That looks, especially like you don't get to see all of it, like this horseshoe sticking out of the planet.
Mhm.
Like half of it is under fog, and it doesn't necessarily look evil, but it sure as hell looks like an alien thing. Um,
Yeah.
like it's very much not. You have this cool dichotomy between the human ship that's like working sort of tender almost that is landing on the surface, and then you have this alien ship that looks, especially when they go inside, it's like, oh hey, it's inside Geiger's brain. All right, like that's what I expect the inside of that ship to look like.
Yep. While we're talking about, what do you think of the cast at large? Because this is where we get the split up the squad kind of moment where is it Lambert, Dallas, and Kane?
Hmm.
Is
Yeah,
it
they're the
Kane?
away party.
Yeah, they all go to the ship. Like, what do you think of like the cast of characters as it is?
I think it's pretty immediately, it's incredibly believable. Like, I like that Dallas as the captain is kind of like, look, we got to get it done. I don't like, just go figure it out. Let's go do it and let's get home. Like, I don't want to be awake. I don't want to be here. I'm tired. Let's go home. Um, I like that Ripley like stands up in her position pretty early on and is just like, no, like we need to do this, especially when they come back and she's like, no, I heard you, but the answer is still no. Like I copy, but no thanks.
If
Um,
only quarantine procedures were followed, Boston. If only
right,
quarantine procedures were followed.
God, if only. Um,
A timeless movie, if there ever was one, at the tail
right,
end of
really,
2020, early
yeah,
2021.
yeah, no real similarities here. I like the two technicians. I like this kind of like this like begrudging like, yeah, I'm gonna get it working, but I don't get full shares, so like it's not gonna be great. It's gonna
It's
get
gonna
us
take
there.
19 hours to like tell her it'll take 19 hours. No, it's gonna take 26 hours, and it's like, of
Right.
course.
Right.
Like, I love the immediate like hatred that they show for Ripley as well. Like when
Yes.
she's the one who's radioing them about the repairs and the damage,
Mm-hmm.
and like they seem so frustrated with having to answer to her,
Yep.
and then are much more respectful when I think it's Dallas who actually, it like asks them for what's going
He
on,
like puts
and
the
they
screws
answer
to him a
him.
little.
Yeah, and they're fine with him. They
Yeah.
really don't like talking to Ripley.
Yeah, it's sadly it feels very true to life. Where it's just like,
Mhm.
this lady is asking us questions. Oh, yes, sir, Dallas, sir. Yep, yep. Repairs are going great. Um, yeah, I like John Hurt a lot. He obviously doesn't get much time in this movie, but what is there is great. I like, man, when they're going through the alien ship and they see the huge skeleton. Um,
Yep.
I
Do you know the name for those people, by the way?
no.
After this movie, they were referred to as the Space Jockeys
Okay, that makes sense.
because he's a dude piloting a spaceship. We don't know anything else about him, so Space Jockey.
Yeah, I also like that they see that giant thing in the spaceship, and one of the things I like about this movie, and one of the things I'm worried about for all of the rest of the movies we will watch, they don't explain anything. It's just like, whoa, look at this cool thing. It looks like something burst out of this thing's chest, wink, and oh, that's
Yep.
super wild. And
See,
I'm
no, no,
just,
no. You get to say wink because it's like 60 years later and
I know.
you're aware of the pop culture now.
Well, don't
At
worry.
the time,
There's a couple of scenes here I had never known about before, and a couple of like, oh god, like there were still a couple of things here. But I like that they descend in. I like that John Hurt falls after he's like, oh, there's like a membrane here. And I'm like, ooh, get out, ooh, ooh, and he like checks out the egg that's moving inside. I'm like, oh, John Hurt, no, please
so I'm
leave it
guessing you
alone.
didn't know about that scene.
No, I didn't, and it like he's like going towards it and it opens up and I'm like, oh god, John Hurt, get out of there. And then I love that it cuts away as soon as you can tell it does something to John Hurt. I love that they prolong seeing any of that stuff because like I had totally forgotten about the face hugger stuff.
You mean that they don't prolong it? Like you literally see a flash of something and then they immediately cut away, kind of thing.
Yeah, because like they don't show you anything until all three of them get back to the ship. Ash and Ripley are fighting about who, if they're going to let them in the ship or not.
Which Ian Holm, by the way, what a performance!
God, he's so good. He's always so good, but like he's so good.
Creepy.
Yeah, like it just like he's just a little bit off in a way that feels pretty
The
believable.
best thing is you don't know why until the end.
Yeah, he just seems like a little bit weird. You know, it's just like
Like a
hey,
science guy might be.
yeah, like it's a little bit believable. He's like, yeah, he's a weird like science dude. Like we all know a weird science guy. Like no big deal. Um, I like that even when they come in the ship, you still don't see it until Kane is on the table in the infirmary, and they like slowly laser open the helmet, and I'm like
the spine, like
yeah, and I'm just like,
out.
oh, it went in his helmet. Oh, and then like when they crack open that helmet and shows it, and it just like tightening around his neck, and I'm just like, ooh. I'd forgotten about like it latching onto the face, and it's just like, whew, oh boy, that's also incredible practical effects. Like just that thing's on there, man. Like you're just
yeah, and it's so creepy.
oh, and just like
the lung design as well on the side of it, where it's got like the inflating little mini lungs that sit on the cheeks. Like it's so gross.
Man. Yeah, and like just them trying to like figure out how to pull it off, and every time they do, it tightens closer, like it tightens more around his neck. It's just like oh god. And I love the back and forth through most of the rest of this sequence where it's sort of like, all right, we're gonna let Ash study this thing. Let's leave him alone. Let's go worry about fixing this thing so we can get the hell off of this planet because this stuff is messed up. We really need to go.
Is that before or after we get the acid blood scene?
I think that happens right then because I think they're like, oh, we'll cut it, and it just starts there. I like that they're chasing it down through the ship where it's just like, oh, it's cutting like that. That was one of those scenes that I think seems a little bit boring when you think about it, but this like, oh my god, it's gonna break all the way through the ship. Like we got to figure out something. I think that was a good scene.
Yeah. It works fine on like a normal like, oh, there's a hole in my floor. What a shame. On a spaceship, that's an entirely different ballgame.
Yeah, you got a lot more. Yeah. And I like that there's this like back and forth ping ponging of how are the engineers doing fixing the ship. Ash says something happened with Kane and we need to go see it, but he won't tell us. And then we're sort of ping ponging back, and I like that every time you go back to the medical bay, it's always
which cool set again, by the way.
Super cool. Yeah, like it looks exactly like how you would expect a medical bay on a spaceship to look. For no specific reason, just a lot of like, yeah, man, that looks right. You did it. I like that the next time they go up, it's the discovery that it's like, yeah, it's like breathing for him, it's doing something to his bloodstream, but let's not remove it. Like we don't know what'll happen, right? It's just like, yeah, I guess, sure. It's like that first moment of like,
I like the fact that like the captain makes the call and he's like, no, you will take this off him.
Right.
You will figure something out. I will be, the consequences will be on me. I think that's before
I like that,
the acid scene, but like, yeah, it's him being a leader.
Yeah, I like that Ash is immediately like, are you taking responsibility? And Dallas is like, yes, I am taking responsibility. Pull it off. It's just like, okay. All right. Yeah, I like that they're like, yeah, it's like breathing for him, and you know, we'll leave it on there though. We don't know what's really gonna happen. It's like, oh god.
I'm always curious in a scene where Ripley comes up to him and he's like looking through the microscope and he's looking at like scans on the monitor. I'm always curious if that thing on the monitor is the egg. Like the
interesting.
Yeah. Because he deliberately switches it off. But
Yeah, like very quickly he's just like leans up, is like, all right, click that off. All right, don't worry about that
and
thing.
I'm always curious if that is intended to be. There is an egg inside of him.
Yeah,
He knows it. He has
interesting.
specific orders to make sure that that thing is fine,
Yeah.
and he doesn't want Ripley, because we know Ripley's intelligent at this point. We know she follows things by the book.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
I'm
and,
curious
and
if he does it just to be like, I don't want Ripley figuring out exactly what's
yeah,
going
it's
on
just
here.
on the chance. Yeah, and I really like that scene too because Ripley goes to talk to Ash and she's like, "Hey man, how's it going? How you feeling? How's Kane doing? What the hell? What did
Oh,
you do?" I really like that she like really puts the screws to him, and he deflects, but he's like, "Yeah, I mean, I did it for a reason. Don't worry about it. You
yeah.
know, everything will
And
be
like
fine."
it's his admiration scene as well, where he's like, "Oh, hey, it's got a really interesting thing of," and this is where you get the fun fact that the xenomorphs are a silicon-based life form
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
rather than carbon-based life forms like we are.
Right.
And it talks about like how they can adapt pretty much to every environment.
Mm-hmm.
I know, by the way, they have molecular acid for blood.
Right. No big deal. Just thought I'd mention that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like too that the next time they get called in the medical bay, it's just gone, and they're like, "Hey, Kane's a lot better," and it's like, "No, like where did the thing go?" Like, well, like don't worry about that, dude. I like that they find the dead one and they dissect it, which is wonderfully disgusting on the inside. Just like
Yeah.
really
So
great
gross.
stuff. Um, and then they're like, "Well, that should be fine. It's dead. Kane seems fine." And he wakes up and it's just like, "Yeah, everybody, let's have a little lunch here, a little feast here before we go back in the sleepy pods." Um,
Hmm.
which
Which I
obviously,
like the fact that the captain says "my treat,"
yeah,
which means that they also working on this commercial like ship have to pay for their own food.
because of course they do. The company demands it. Um,
Hmm.
this scene is great because for me,
Okay, okay.
it
Did the parody take anything away from this for you?
no, because I think for me it's the known and the unknown. This is obviously the chestburster scene, but
Mm.
the like for me, I'm sure when you went to go see this in the theaters in the 70s, you're sort of relaxing a little bit because like he's fine, like the alien's dead, like no big deal, it should be fine. We're all gonna celebrate and we're gonna go back to Earth, and like you're kind of your tension level is going down a little bit. But for me, it's ratcheting minute by minute because it's like, when is the thing going to happen and how does it
Mhm.
happen? And like watching him scoop like 7 spoonfuls onto this plate and then watching him eat. And as soon as that first cough comes out, I'm just like, oh God, here we go. And I don't think I had ever seen the beginning of the chestburster stuff before, but one of my favorite scenes in this movie is when they have him on the table and they're trying to hold him down, they're trying to put the thing in his mouth and they're trying to get him to relax to figure out what's going on. That first blood spurt from his chest where everybody on screen freezes and it's silent. That's an incredible scene because it's just like, wait, the everybody's just like, wait, what?
Do you know why?
Hmm. Was that
Because they were
unscripted?
all no, they were all told that something was going to happen, but not exactly what.
Oh my god, that's so good.
So the scream from the from Lambert is
Uh huh.
real. That is her legitimately reacting to this happening.
Oh, that's so good. And it's just like it mirrors. It's an interesting moment where it mirrors what the audience is doing too. Where just like this like little quick spurt, and everybody's just like, wait, what happened? And then he starts thrashing again, and seeing that thing come out of his chest with his little metal teeth, and it's just like angry alien baby face. It's just horrifying. But what's
Hmm.
even worse is it taking off at like 200 miles an hour off into the ship. Just pew! just like a trail of dust behind it, like a cartoon character. Like it just,
Yeah, and then like it's also worth something we haven't really talked about so far is the sound design in this movie.
yeah.
Like talk about the wind on the planetoid is
Oh, so good.
insanely good.
Hmm.
Like the storm sounds are great, the ship sounds are great. But when that thing does its first grown-up squeal, like let alone the whiplash sound when the facehugger comes out of the egg, that's a great sound
Oh,
too.
yeah, it's so good.
But that first like alien scream as it is on the table, that's a really disturbing sound.
It's horrifying, and it's like tiny little metal teeth, like hey, yeah, 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 yeah. Like it's just, and then it sprints off, and it's just like, what the hell just happened, man? Like,
Yup.
and then I like that they are very quickly like, okay, this is clearly a bad thing. Let's fashion weapons out of whatever we have and let's kill this thing. It's like, hell
I
yeah,
love
man.
the I love the fact that they fashion non-lethal weapons too. Like
Yeah,
immediately, 'cause there's very clearly a time jump at some point here of maybe even a couple of hours,
sure.
but it cuts from that to them around a table, and it's like this is basically a cattle prod.
Yep.
Don't touch this end of it. It's not going to kill you, but it's going to give you a nasty shock. And provided that this thing's skin is no more thinner than ours, then it should do the same for this thing too,
Yep.
without spurting acid blood all over the place.
Right, which is, an important distinction of
Mm-hmm.
like, maybe don't stab this thing because of the acid blood. Yeah, I like that they very, very quickly and very clearly are like, this thing is not good. It's not like, everybody's not like, but maybe it's just scared. It's like, I don't care. We are in space with this thing. We need to do something about it. At the very least, chase it into an airlock and space it. Like, let's go do this thing. Um,
Mm-hmm. Which that's how prevalent sci-fi terminology has come now. By the way, you
yes.
said space it, and it's everybody immediately knows what you're talking about
Yeah, I
now.
don't need to explain what spacing something is, which is great because this episode is going to go on long enough. Um, but number one, Jonesy the cat, adorable, super
I
great.
knew you would love Jonesy because number one, he's a cat, and number two, he's a ginger cat.
Yeah,
Who
love them.
you have a thing for ginger cats.
Yeah, they're great. And they're also jerks like Jonesy is, which is which
Mm-hmm.
is half of the appeal. Yeah. Um, I the rest of this movie up until the next sort of surprising scene for me was a lot of. I don't have a lot of notes here because I was just watching the movie. This is like the fastest 2 hour movie I've seen in my life. So a lot
Mm-hmm.
of it is like, my one note is, oh my god, don't dissect it, Jonesy, and then oh my god, it's so big already. So there's like a little bit of a gap here between little baby one and then it's so big.
So I'm pretty sure the "It's So Big" scene is that is no, it's
It's
Brett.
when,
It's
yeah, it's
Brett's
when
death.
Brett was going to look for Jonesy.
So you've got like a good 20 minutes in there of
Yeah.
like using the scanners, the
Yep.
micro changes in air density
Right. They like
scanners.
explain just enough where you're like, all right, yeah, man, sure, okay.
And I love how fed up Ripley is of Ash's crap
Yes.
because when they find Jonesy for the first time,
Mm.
as she walks into that room, she's like micro changes in air density. Like she
Yes.
clearly doesn't buy it in the slightest.
So good. And I love that she just like, her frustration at everybody and her yelling at everybody, and sort of, there's a scene later where she's like, does that make sense? Are you on board? Is that cool? It's just like, yep,
Mhm.
like that feels pretty authentic. We're just like, this set was probably hot as hell and they're probably sick of each other anyway. So like,
Yeah, you're talking 100 Fahrenheit,
yeah,
approximately,
yeah,
uh, on the set itself, let alone inside of the spacesuits.
right,
We won't even talk about that.
right,
But yeah, and Ripley is listen to Ripley. None of this happens.
right. Just pay attention to the one person that seems to have her head on 100% correctly. Yeah. Um,
Yes, we'll talk about Brett now, Mister Right. Right.
Right.
Right. You
That was
almost said
actually
it too. You almost said it
it
right
was
then.
that was a pretty good scene where everyone's pretty tired of him. He's like, right. Like
Yeah. You
that
know, no
feels
matter
pretty good.
what he says, you say right. Right.
Yeah, that's pretty. That feels like the right actor for the right role in that one. Like
Mhm.
that was really good too. Um,
Yeah. But yeah, Brett goes to the chases Jonesy after he let him go after they get him in the locker.
that scene is great when they open the locker and it's just angry cat face, which is it's just like man,
Which what
that
was
cat
it?
was pissed.
Was it two or three Kafkas in this movie? I think it was three,
I
maybe.
think it's three. Yeah, there's a good couple. Yeah,
But yeah, then he lets him go, so then he has to go and find him. Follows him into the storage slash condensation yard on board the ship.
right. Which is a pretty
And
cool looking place. Got to
Mhm.
have a place with a
And
lot of chains on a spaceship.
I was gonna say the chains are the thing that make this movie for me.
Oh man, so good.
Like,
Like him, just like the water running off of those chains, and just
you know something is coming. You know it
and he
is.
like takes his time to take off his hat, and he's like letting the water run on his face. I'm like, this alien's going to eat you or something. I don't even know what it does at this point, but like it's coming for you, and it's probably larger and more angry. So like, get to
Mhm.
stepping, maybe.
And then that tail drop down from the
Oh
back
god.
is it's so good.
It's so, it's so good. Like it just like you see it and you're just like, yep, all right, there it is. Like even if you didn't know what it looked like going into it, you know that it's that. Like it's just
Yeah.
that's not a chain, even though it looks similar enough, and you're just like, here it comes. Sorry, man, it's getting you. I don't know what it's gonna
Yeah.
do, but it's coming for you.
And I like the fact that like you just see it drop down in the background in like not focused, just blurry to
Yep.
give you an idea of how big this thing is now.
Yeah. Like a couple of hours later, it's bigger than a dude. And it's like, you boy, okay. Oh
Oh, the sheddy skin scene. We forgot about the shedded skin, but we won't talk about that right now because that's just gross.
yeah, that was a one where it's like, I picked it up. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many good, like, practical, gross moments with the baby alien, like the face hugger version of the alien. Like, just so much like that dissection scene we talked about earlier. It's like, oh boy, you made like a bunch of chicken pieces look really gross in this movie. Like, oof.
Clams and caviar and things like that. It was like very
Yeah.
fish based.
Yeah, super super cool looking. Like I'm a sucker for really good practical effects like this, and this movie is just chock full of that stuff. Um, but yeah, it manages to do whatever an alien does with him, which we're watching the theatrical version, so we don't get to really find out, which
But
I like. Um,
we do see the mouth for the first time.
yeah, like super quick. It's just like it opens its big mouth and then there's like gives the stabby, the mouth
Uh-huh.
stabby. Yeah, which is just God. That thing is so big. That man, the alien looks so cool. Can
Yes.
I want to put that on the record, firmly stamped. I think the alien looks cool. It's a hot take.
Uh-huh.
It just like it just
Arguably one of the best design monsters ever, I would say.
yeah, and like it looks menacing and it looks truly alien. Like I know I keep saying that word. It's tough because it's the name of the movie, but like it really does look like it's not like oh it kind of looks like a squid. It kind of looks like this other thing. And no, it looks like a nightmare that has legs. Like this thing is
Uh-huh.
just it is like
Like
it.
the banana dome head is just
Yeah, man, and just like and it knowing this name as a xenomorph, it's just like, yeah, that fits. That sounds right. This thing is an undying nightmare. That's great,
yep.
man. Um, next, the next note I wrote here, which is probably a shared sentiment for everyone. I said so many cool shots in this movie. Even the maintenance hatches look cool. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Things.
the What a great scene too. Like just
Yeah,
I'm gonna take
like
this
it's
homemade
worth mentioning
flamethrower
that,
and
like,
go in the air ducts.
yeah, I like the fact that Yaphet is the one who finds whatever is left of Brett.
Yes.
Um,
Yep.
and he's like the thing was big, dude, and it went straight into the air vents, like
Uh-huh.
straight into the air vents.
Yeah,
Like
he and
there's a
I like the
reason you
level
can't
of
find it.
freaked out he is, where it's just like it was really big and it's in the air vents now. And I like
And
that
Yaphet Kotto is a big dude, so for him
yes.
to be saying that something is big, it's got to be very big.
Yeah, and I like that everybody's like, cool. It makes sense it's in the air vents. Also, holy crap.
Yep.
That's not good. um yeah, I like that Dallas is like, well, I'm the captain, so I guess I'll go get killed next. Let's go kill this thing in the air vents. And she's like, okay, that's not. Of course, it's not going to work, but okay. I love the lighting from the flamethrower in these super tight air vents, and just like the the super claustrophobic shots they get of just Dallas is the majority of the screen, and he's turning around, and they're
He's
yelling at him. The
bumping
thing is
into
right behind
everything.
him.
Like
Yeah.
like he's got no room to actually maneuver quickly. Like
Yep.
practicality all the way, folks. Like that's
Yeah.
it's so good.
And just like I really love when the the alien is bearing down on him and then just disappears for a little bit, and everyone's like, it'll be fine. He's safe. Dallas is like, yeah, I'll just stay in here. It'll be fine. It's just like, dude, no,
Uh-huh.
get out of there. And then it immediately pops back up and just roar.
Yeah, it's right there when he turns around. Is
So good. Great shot.
like the design. Yeah, the design and the look of the alien complements it, blending so well into backgrounds. Which one of my favorite scenes is the alien blending into something, which we'll get into later.
Yes. Oh man.
But that whole thing where like it's just pitch black behind him, and then the second he turns that torch around, and it's right there.
Yeah.
It's a cat scare, but it's an alien scare instead.
Yep. And it's exactly what you think is going to happen, but because you only keep getting these flashes of it, it is right there like you think it is, and it's horrifying, and he's dead. Like that combination of just like, oh god, it's there, go, like it just, it's so good. Um, my next note here, talk about Ian Holm's big scene. Um, there's
Is this the one where Ripley goes and speaks to Mother?
yeah, I really like this scene. So like Ripley is like, all right, so Dallas is clearly dead. I'm the commanding officer now. I'm gonna go
Mm-hmm.
get some questions from Mother. And it's like, yeah, man, like, all right, yeah, Ripley,
As you
Ripley,
would.
you got the right idea. Like, let's go do that. Let's get some answers. And I like that she asks Mother a bunch of questions and then gets to the root of it, which is the company wants this thing. Everyone is expendable.
Yeah.
And the dude who showed up 2 days before the ship takes off is the person who is given the order. And it's sort of like, and then
Mm-hmm.
I love that she leans back and he's right there in the background.
Yep.
That's one of those shots that
How?
I love.
Ian Holm is so like he's a little dude.
Yeah.
Like it gives you the idea of his acting because his presence is constantly felt, and he can be super duper creepy and super intimidating, despite being what looks like about a foot shorter than Sigourney Weaver. Because Sigourney Weaver is a tall lady.
Well, and immediately too, he has this like calm resignation where it's like, there's really an explanation for what's going on here, and it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not entirely sure I want to know what it is, and you're being real weird right now. And as she runs away and he's locking her in, there's just that one little trail of white stuff on
Yeah.
his face, and I'm just like, what's happening? I didn't think the alien did that. He got hit by the alien, right? And then
Oh, I totally realized you probably didn't know about synthetics.
I had no idea about anything this. So he's like chasing her down and like white sweating, and I'm just like, what's happening? And he is like way stronger than her all of a sudden. And I was like, what? And he's choking her with a magazine. And I was like, what is actually happening? And they knock his head off. That was
But
a
it's worth
moment.
mentioning, he almost incapacitates like Yaphet Kotto's character by
Yep.
grabbing his chest with his fingers. That's
Right.
it.
He's like fighting three people at once. And I was like, what is actually going on? They knock his head off. And I was just like, that's me sitting in my office. That was like one of the most surprised F bombs I've ever said out loud to myself watching a movie. Because it's this incredible shot of them connecting with his head to stop him, and his head just comes clean off. And I was just like, what what
Yup.
what? And then yeah, he's an
I
android.
didn't even think about the fact that like synthetics are part of this universe.
Right.
I didn't even think of that. You might not know that.
And like that's one of the fun parts about watching this movie is you know what the xenomorph looks like, and you know Ripley, and you know Jonesy, and you know the chest burster, and you know all this other stuff. Like, of course, I knew the thing laid an egg inside of Kane when he got off of his face. Like you
Hello, my
osmosis.
darling. Hello, my
Yeah,
baby.
exactly.
Having the
Like
right time. Yeah.
you osmosis absorbs so much. When they knocked his head off, and I was like, I've genuinely never heard of this. I've never seen this. What the actual hell is going on right now? This is incredible. And then they like put him back together long enough to just be like, dude, what the hell? And then
Yeah, with the
he,
milky white like grossness and
yeah,
the
like all of his
tubes.
android blood, like it just and the I love the vocal effect they put on him that just it's still his voice, but it's like weird enough that not all of his parts are working anymore. And then his naked admiration for these horrible killing aliens, like these perfect beings, is just like,
Yup.
man, this is so great and terrible at the same time. What have you done, you horrible monster?
Mm-hmm. And now you know why he was the company guy.
Right. Yes. In more ways than one. And then I like that Yaphet just sets him on fire. Where it's like, he's gone, but I'm gonna really kill him. It's like, okay, I
Yeah.
I don't blame you, sir. Um, but yeah, God. And then the next time that what's Yaphet's character's name? Parker. Um, when Parker and Lambert run into, I like that all three of them are like, all right, cool, we gotta go. Like we just
Well, I was gonna say the good news is without having to worry about
four people.
yes, I was gonna say
Yeah.
without having to worry about Ian Holm, Ash. That means that now we're now to three people, which the shuttle can take three.
Yeah, and I like that they are like, we need to go get stuff that will help us to survive in the shuttle. We gotta go. Like I don't
Mhm.
care if we leave this thing here, like our lives are more important. I like that when Parker and Lambert are collecting all that stuff, Ripley's off doing some other stuff. Um, I like that when Lambert runs into the alien and Parker's like, you have to run. Like you just run away, like get away. I like that she is like paralyzed by fear and she's just saying I can't run away, and just this thing is like slowly menacing its way toward her, and it's just like
The crosscuts here as well is fantastic because you're getting glimpses of Lambert and Parker
yep.
mixed with Ripley, who's doing her own thing. And I think she's setting the self-destruct timer at that point. Like she's turning off the cooling units.
Yeah, I think she's like getting ready to start doing some of that stuff, and she's hearing the two of them because Dallas early on sets
turn,
the
turn the radio on every floor. Every
so like
floor is wide open.
yeah, and like she's hearing this thing where she's like, "What the hell is going on?" And it's just like, "All right, I have a pretty good idea what's going on here."
Mm-hmm. And we hear the meow, which I like as well, over the
Yes,
radio.
yep. And she's just like, "Oh my God, Jonesy!" It's just like, "Yeah, man, he disappeared for about 30 minutes here." But yes, you need to
Mm-hmm.
go get him before he turns into some sort of cat xenomorph. Um, but boy, there's a lot of stuff that happens as soon as those two die because she's just like, all right, I'm going to take the shuttle. Like me and Jonesy, best friends, we're going to take the
Who is
shuttle for
now in
sure.
the future tech carry case.
Yes, which is very cool. Um, I like that she's like, all right, I'm going to make a decision. Everybody else is dead. It's me and Jonesy. I'm going to blow this ship up. I was just like, yeah, man, cool. I appreciate that. I like that they Mother gives them what 10 minutes before it blows up and 5 minutes until they can kind of recall
It's
the blow up.
I think she sets it to blow up before those two die because I think they are in the process of gathering supplies while
Yeah.
because it's 20 minutes total, 10 minutes before
Oh, okay.
manual override stops, and then
Gotcha.
10 minutes until
Right.
the thing blows up.
Yeah, and I like that there's this like she sets it and her and Jonesy try and get to the shuttle and I like that the alien is like menacing in the way and she's just like, "Oh boy. Okay. Well, that's not going to work. Let's go cancel the self-destruction thing." Well, that doesn't work.
The fact that she drops Jonesy and then you get that scene of the alien looking at this cat in the jar,
Mhm.
like it's a really cool scene of like, well, she dropped him because she has to be able to move faster than
Right.
she would carrying a whole bunch of crap.
Right.
Like does a little loop around the ship, tries to get back there so she can put the cooling units back on and cancel the self destruct. And like literally she puts it down like 5 seconds after the override is.
Yeah, it's
And then
it's
she's like,
like seconds away.
it's like, Mother, I turned on the cooling units. Mother, it's like, what are
Yep.
we playing Isaac here?
Right. Isaac and his mother. Yeah, it's this really cool thing where it's like, yeah, you did the right thing, but this computer does not care. Like it is not. It's following the rules, and that's what it's gonna do. Um, I do like that she's just like, well, I'm still gonna do it. Let's get Jonesy. Let's go get in the shuttle. Um, and like doesn't find the alien at all, and
I'm pretty sure that sequence is, and Mackie confirms that for me. That is around about 10 minutes
yeah, it.
between the cancellation and the actual explosion. It's around about 10 minutes.
Oh, nice. That's nice. Um, yeah, I like that she's just like, well, I guess we really have to go now. Let's go get Jonesy. Let's get on the shuttle. Let's get the hell out of here. And the shuttle takes off, and the ship explodes. And she's like, all right, yeah, man, we did it. We got it. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, no, there's no way.
Did
There's
you know it wasn't over at that point, or was it a suspicion that it wasn't over at that point?
for me that was a suspicion because I was like, this feels like it feels like that was easier than it should be. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course one of the best jump scares in this movie.
Yeah. Oh, she did just blow, by the way, 20 billion units of ore
Yeah,
carrying.
like a
So,
whole butt ton of product for the company.
uh-huh.
Um, yeah, and just like one of the best jump scares in this movie is like, yeah, it's on the shuttle too. There you go.
Yeah. That every time that scene gets me.
Yep,
Every single time.
oh, it's so good. And like, I like that right away. She puts Jonesy in one of the sleep pods. She's like, all right, I'm gonna keep this. I got to keep my little buddy safe, and I'm going to very silently go get dressed up in one of these spacesuits, and then
Well, the alien had a very big meal, so it's sleepy and it needs to get some
yes,
rest.
yes, which is kind of a cool idea. It
I
feels
actually
like
think it was doing something else, but I can't talk about the other things it may have been doing without talking about the next movies.
oh
So,
sure, okay, um, yeah, I it's one of those cool things where it's like yeah, it's a little drowsy, looking for a little bit of a nap spot. It is a
uh-huh.
newborn after all. Um,
Yep. It blends in so well, dude. Like that.
it really does. Um, and yeah, she just she sings her little song and wakes it up. And
Improv, by the way.
yes, I did search for that because I was like, this. It's not a weird scene, but it feels it feels very deliberate. So I'm wondering if this was a reference to something that I didn't know about, or what was going on there. Um, but yeah, and then she also spaces that thing uh, with what did she boop it out of the ship
Well,
with?
she flushed her out of hiding with the liquid hydrogen
Right.
tanks. And then when it came up and she was buckled in, she hit it with a grappling gun.
Yeah, that's it. Because the grappling hook gets stuck at like the bottom of the door of the. It says the xenomorph on it, which leads to the only less than perfect shot in this movie, which is the dude in a rubber suit that gets sucked into the ship's engines, the shuttle's
Mm-mm.
engines. Which,
Climbs into the engines. The
yeah.
tail hooks on, and then he climbs in, trying to find
Oh,
some place
that's
to
true.
go.
Yeah, because then she starts the engines up. That's one of those shots where it's like, yeah, you did what you could with the budget and the time you had, and that's probably the least good shot of this movie, where literally all of the other shots are incredible. So
Hmm.
you can't be mad about one little thing.
Fun fact about the Nostromo: the ship
Hmm.
itself is around about 800 feet long. The thing
Okay.
that that's towing is a mile and a half long.
Wow,
It's
man.
space, dude. Nothing weighs nothing.
Yeah, like it doesn't matter how big it is. Yeah. Um, and then yeah, like at that point, she's like, "All right, I think we finally got it. Me and Jonesy, we're gonna go take a nap." Mm,
And you get the last report of
yep,
the USS Nostromo, which is great.
that's really good. Yeah, the last report of Ripley and the Nostromo, she goes to bed and credits. It's like, all
Hmm.
right, what a fantastic film! Holy crap! I one of the things I wrote here on my notes is number one. I can't believe it's 2 hours because it flew by. But I feel like so many times when you go to watch a classic movie, you run the risk of watching something and being like, man, that's a classic? Like this kind of 2 hour turd is like one of the best movies on the planet? Like for real? Like it's number five on like the 100 movies you need to see before you die? Uh,
Hmm.
it's definitely not the case with Alien. Like watching it, it's just like I 100% understand why this is a classic. This is absolutely like a horror classic, a sci-fi classic, like a practical effects classic. Like this movie is incredible from the first shot to the last shot. Like it's
Yeah,
just so good.
yeah. Do we want to read the email from Mikey here before we
Yeah,
get too deep?
Moon has prepared a dramatic reading of a an email that Mackie, the what do you call it, the alien film consultant, has prepared
Hmm.
for us. It is lengthy because he is a large fan of the alien movies. So we're going to send this over to the dramatic reading from Moon.
I love Alien. It's in my top 3 movies of all time. I love it so much that this was originally a 3,000 word monstrosity of an email. It would take you about 20 minutes just to read on air. Now it should only take you about 10. But I feel it's a perfect movie aside from literally one shot. The airlock one of the clearly guy in a suit alien at the very end. Aside from that, not a shot is wasted. Even the slow panning shots in the silent 7-minute opening teach us geography and condition us to think that not every quiet shot with only ambient ship sounds is going to end with something happening. Something Dead Space's creators used about as well as anybody since. And the sound design, using ambient sound and contrasting it with loud noise and then dropping it back into silence. Few movies ever do it better. Kane's face hugging is the best example. Quiet for minutes, a burst of sound and violence, and then a silent shot of the ship exterior that they hold for 16 seconds. The silence lets our mind fill in the gaps. Just like Brett and Lambert's deaths are much worse because we only hear their screams, so our mind fills in the blanks. This is also why taking the Jaws approach of not fully showing the creature until way later worked so well. Granted, suit limitations added to this, but when all we see is its size and the snarling teeth and claws for the first few kills, our mind fills in the gaps with worse. The design is overexposed now, but holy crap, HR Giga's combo of biology and mechanics in that thing is unnerving. It's lost its power because we've killed thousands in video games and subsequent movies, but still, man. The grounding in reality makes this the biggest champion for practical effects and sets over CG and green screen. People pull actual levers, they press real buttons, and they climb ladders. Light from the flamethrower plays off nooks and crannies, alarm lights and steam react to corners and edges. It's real. It lets us think, yeah, this could happen. The actors sell it as well because it's a workplace relationship and they all have archetypes. And when they talk, they aren't delivering lines, they talk over each other, they cut each other off, they give knowing, annoyed, or in Ash's case, creepy, looks. They're all people we've met working. Parker is the talented guy who would rather complain than find a new job. That's me. That's editor's note, that's me, Moon, not Mackie. Lambert is the one who's tolerable on normal days, but will call in sick the second she has a runny nose, leaving you short-handed. Dallas is the boss who wants the paycheck, but doesn't really manage or want to make decisions. Ripley is the one who plays by the rule book and doesn't care who it pisses off, which ultimately would have avoided all of this if everyone had just listened to her. And that's also why this is a perfect movie. Every bad decision is addressed and given context. They go to the ship because they got greedy and they want their shares. They don't stop once they know it's a warning because they can't reach them via radio. They break quarantine because the boss told them to, and the company guy wanted it to happen. Brett has to get Jonesy because a cat will show up on the radar again. They can't escape in the shuttle because there isn't enough space and they refuse to draw straws. Any stupid cinema sins style nitpick is thought about and addressed. Nobody does dumb stuff just because the movie needs it to happen. I'm looking at you and getting annoyed again, Prometheus. And the twists. Ash is a robot. Holy crap, Dallas, the lead star, dies with over an hour left in the movie. Holy crap. In hindsight, Sigourney Weaver is the biggest star in this movie, but at the time she was the unknown and everybody else was a name. They even swerve when she goes to the control room to find Jonesy, and you expect her to die since it's all been solo kills. But nope, it goes for the pair and takes them both out. It's logical when watching now since she's the only one consistently making good decisions. But at the time, people just couldn't handle it. And of course, she blows up the ship and the movie doesn't just end. We go through her whole routine on the shuffle, waiting. And man, that jump scare will always get me because the alien blends into the interior of the ship so well. Then we get the whole launch sequence of her slowly creeping around as if it's a rabid dog in her house and she doesn't want to upset it. Man, this movie, it's one of the best. I recommended the theatrical over the director's cut because the director's cut is like the special edition of a classic album. Sometimes they rearrange the track order and add a song that was on the end of the Japanese version between track 8 and 9 for no particular reason. Having just come off 9 Inch Nails, moon note here, having just come off 9 Inch Nails, yeah, there's so many additions over there. It's not a bad song, but it breaks up the flow. That's kind of how I feel about the Dallas Brett scene. It's a cool scene, but it feels weird that she lingers there with them for 2 of the 10 minutes she has on the self-destruct timer, so it loses its agency. They edit around it so both versions are actually 10 minutes until the ship actually blows up. It's closer to 9, but close enough. But it just doesn't work as well. Same with the listening to the signal scene before they land on the planet. At least it gives Lambert something to do other than lose poops though. I'll end this here, though I could discuss the themes all day since I haven't even touched on rape analogies, corporate dehumanization, or any number of things. It's a really smart movie, and people much smarter than me have written a lot about the filmmaking and the metaphors. I look forward to hearing your takes on the next 3 since they are all vastly different movies by vastly different filmmakers. I don't consider it a spoiler, but I view them all as themes to keep in mind while viewing. Alien, corporations versus nature. Aliens, military versus nature. Alien cubed, religion versus nature, and Alien Resurrection, science versus nature. So glad you're doing these. I love this series, though I know ultimately more entries are bad than good. Hopefully you can do Mad Max soon enough. I know that will make Moon happy. As well. Thanks for reading this far, Mackie. Thank you, Mackie.
Thank you, Mackie, for your note.
Yeah.
Thank you, Moon, for doing the reading of that. I appreciate it.
There's a lot he covers in that email that we've kind of talked about a little bit here. Like, let's give H.R. Geiger credit as well, like Mackie mentioned.
For real.
Like, so much design work. Like, he designed the Xenomorphs, he designed the Space Jockey, I'm pretty sure he designed the big horseshoe ship as well. Like, so much of this movie is on his back.
I like when they go in that ship and you just see like the ribs of the ship, and it's like, yeah, there he is. He's showing up. About 30 minutes into the movie, there's his stuff. Like, you know it now because his stuff is so prolific, but like I can only imagine that first shot in that hallway of that ship is just like, what the hell is this thing?
Yup. Let's see, he talks about the crew, which is that is so incredible. Something that I don't think we've really given this enough credit for, which Mackie calls out in particular, is like it's 7 minutes before the people at the start of the movie actually get out the pods.
Yeah.
It's 7 minutes of building up what this universe is.
Man, there's that incredible shot in like the hub of the ship down that hallway where there's that like that doorway and there's
the
a
two
white
beds.
Yeah, and there's like that white door in that white room all the way on the other side. Like, that's a really great shot. So many of those great shots where it's like, man, you just like your set was so well designed that you could look at it and be like, this is going to be an incredible shot with the lighting that we have available. Like the three of them in the spacesuits, when the ship opens up to the planet and there's that lighting that just makes them look incredible. It's just like, yeah, man, like you took advantage of every single like reel of film that you had. It's incredible.
Yeah. Mackie mentions at the end of his email as well, like the different themes.
I thought this was really interesting. Yeah.
Of the movies, which honestly, Alien 3 took me for a second. I was like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
But it makes sense thinking about it, having seen the movie, but not in a long time. And Alien Resurrection also makes sense. Like these four themes make perfect sense. Like this is 100% corporations versus nature. Like,
yeah. Yep. Yeah. The company wants its exclusive, and it's gonna get it no matter what.
Next one, I think that's a minor spoiler with the fact that it says military versus nature, but you know, I'm pretty sure you're already aware of what Aliens is.
Right.
It's right there in the title.
Right. Right. It might give you we'll talk about it in the next episode, but probably one of those things where it's like, all right, we're going to do a sequel to Alien. It's called Aliens. It's like, all right, I'm already in because I know how this is going to go.
But arguably, this is one of the most perfect movies ever made. Yeah. Arguably.
Yep.
And there is a fan base for this movie in the UK that kind of lays claim to this movie because Alien was a Brandywine production, Brandywine obviously being a Lord of the Rings reference, obviously because that's a production company that's based in the UK. It was made on UK studios with UK staff. This is 1979, the UK cinematography at its finest.
Right.
Like, because pretty much all of this, except for certain obviously actors and actresses, most of the set designs and stuff like that you see were all made in the UK. Like, there's
a real point of pride.
Yeah, it's a real point of pride. I wish I could remember the studio that they did it in, but I can't anymore because all I can remember is James Cameron hated them, which is hilarious to me. But no, it's so perfect, dude.
It's
like,
yeah,
and I forgot how perfect it is.
Yeah.
I mean, for you, I mean, you're coming into this blind. You didn't know about synthetics, which didn't even occur to me
No,
until literally we were talking about it just now.
I had no idea, and it's. I think that's really exciting because I feel like going into this, you know exactly what the xenomorph looks like. Like I had seen the Facehugger 2 before, but had sort of forgotten about it because the xenomorph is like really the star because of how insane that thing looks. But yeah, I had no idea about like Mother or the synthetics or anything. Like that was such an incredible thing. Just they knocked that dude's head off and just like, whoa, what? Like 40, 50 years later, it's still surprising somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have nothing but good things to say about this movie. Like I just watching is just like, yeah, this is an incredible, classic, fantastic movie that I am looking forward to watching again, just because I'm sure I will catch more cool stuff, and I just want to see the inside of that ship again. Like, even when they're in like the bottom of the ship fixing one of the struts, it's just like, yeah, man, like that looks like the bottom maintenance hatch of a ship. Like this, it's so cool. All of that stuff is just incredible. Doing so much with so little.
Is there any notes or anything that you've got that we haven't really covered that you just want to throw out?
No, not really. I think a lot of it was my excitement of a quote unquote slow beginning. I like all that world building. I like all them kind of getting set back up on the ship and like getting everything set back up. And then as soon as it goes wrong, it's just a sprint from that point up until like the last minute of the movie where she does that last report from the Nostromo. Like it's an incredible like kind of two halves of the same coin for this movie, and I think this movie is fantastic. I just really loved it. I'm glad we're doing the Alien quadrilogy because I feel like I'm glad that I've seen another classic movie and just finally seeing it and be like, yep, that 100% is that it has earned its legacy for sure.
I'm just like, to be honest, I'm also glad you didn't know about the cast going in because
Yep.
so many people know about Sigourney Weaver, obviously. Because
yeah,
when you look at everybody else on this list, maybe Ian Holm is the biggest name in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it's a tie between him and Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, John Hurt is obviously famous now. Maybe not necessarily then, but yeah, that's a hell of a cast.
yeah. Performances are incredible. Everything
Yep.
looks amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm assuming you know about the tagline for this movie too.
This is the "In Space Nobody Can Hear You Scream." Yeah.
Correct.
Yep. That's another like looking at the poster for this movie with like the egg with the green stuff coming out of the bottom and that tagline is just like, if that didn't get you in the theaters in the 70s, like I'm not entirely sure what would.
Well, look on the bright side as well. Now you have 60-something years worth of fan-made content to catch up on.
True. For better or for worse.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts from you about Alien here before we tap out?
Honestly, this film was better than I remember it being. And I remember it being pretty much perfect. And I think it's better than that. And I feel a little bit bad because it's like, I know I prefer the next movie.
Oh,
sure. I can't help it. I prefer the next movie.
Right.
But I can't help but think that this is probably what this made Ridley Scott. Like, like I don't care. Like, don't get me wrong, Ridley Scott's made some bangers. He's also made some garbage.
Yeah.
But he's made some bangers in his time. And this is just one of those things where it's like, yeah, you know, it's about as perfect as it can be. Like, right time, right place, right cast, right squad, right crew.
100%.
Everything just seemed to come together. And I don't know. It's perfect.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see. Don't want to talk too much about the next movie, but I'm really excited to see the next one, just to see. Like you said at the beginning of this episode, some people prefer this one, some people prefer the second one, and that sort of can tell a lot about which genres you like or what type of movie experience you like. And I'm very curious to see which side of the fence I will land on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All
right.
Fun fact:
Yeah.
Ridley Scott directed Apple 1984.
Oh, I guess I didn't know that. Interesting.
So Ridley Scott directed a trailer that would be used as a spoof by Epic in Fortnite,
Right.
who now also have the Xenomorph in there.
How far we've come.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you very
Every day
much.
we stray further from God.
That's right. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening to this super extended episode. And we hope we'll see you next episode for Aliens. Bye.
Bye.